Hi, everyone. Pastor Don Smith here. Welcome to the Talk About It podcast, where we take relevant topics with a biblical point of view and we talk about it. You know you want to, and so do I. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back, Talk About It crew. I am Pastor Don, your host for the Talk About It podcast. Thank you all for being back here this week. I hope that you have had a great week. Listen, if you're a longtime listener, once again, I want to thank you so much for all your help, especially here in Season 6. Episode 5 was epic. Oh my goodness. So many people commented, so many people responded about the particular value there that we were talking about, a love for spouse. Now, if you're new to the podcast, hey, we want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you on. And we're just saying, hey, Talk About It is about taking a relevant topic with a biblical perspective and just having a conversation about it. And this season is Season 6. This is Episode 6. So if you're a longtime listener, you already know that, and that is why you are back. I'm so excited. But if you're a new listener, do me a favor. Just push pause on this. Go back and start Season 6, Episode 1, and we'll be here waiting on you when you get back. How about that? Because you're going to need to get caught up. This is a conversation, and so it's a running dialogue. And so if you're new and you're just coming on, we're so glad that you're here. We're excited for you to be here, but we want you to be caught up with everything that we're talking about. Listen, you long-term listeners, you guys are the best. You are the best. You liked, you shared, you subscribed. You've been talking about it. You've been talking about this particular season where we're talking about marriage, and you've been sharing all of these conversations that we're having, especially in these values that we're giving you in marriage. So I say thank you for those of you who have come onto the team, the Talk About It team, and you're supporting us monthly. It is incredible. Thank you so much. Did you know you can do that? You can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month, $36 a year, and you make things happen. It is incredible when we team up with just a little bit how much effort all of that amounts to. And so I just want to say thank you. You know who you are. And we're going to be doing some things here in the future to try and bless our monthly supporters for sure. But for today, we got to get back into this conversation because it is epic. It is epic. This is Episode 6 in Season 6. And today we're working on value number 3 in marriage. Okay, now I listed it out by saying that, hey, I wanted to give you the values, the 6 values that my wife and I put into our marriage all those years ago, over 30 years ago, when we were saying, hey, we want to build this. We want to build this foundation. Our pastor asked us when he was working with us all those years ago, he said, what's the identity of your marriage? Why are you married? And, you know, it was a question we couldn't really ask because we got married because we loved each other. But what are you going to do with your marriage? And how do you know what the identity of your marriage is if you don't know the values of your marriage? And for every couple, it's different. So maybe these values that I'm listing out to you in this season, they might not be your exact values, but they're great values, and you should definitely consider them. If you don't have any, my encouragement is you got to get some. And hopefully this will encourage you to know how to build some of those. I hope that you're taking my advice also and just sitting down with your spouse, listening to the podcast once a week together as an devotional time, and then working out some practical steps that you can take for the next 6-7 days to do the things that we're talking about. Nothing brings change more than intentional action. Oh, let me say it again. Nothing brings change more than intentional action. We want change, but we're hoping it happens by accident. And the only thing that is the result of an accident is a mess. Oh my, that's not okay, listen, come on, talk about it. The only thing that an accident creates is a mess. An accident never fixes anything. Okay, and so if we want our marriages to get better, we've got to be more intentional about what we're doing. That's all I'm asking you to do. So let's move right into this, because here on Season 6, Episode 6, we're going to talk about value number 3, which is honesty. Now, you may say, well, okay, Pastor Don, that is, that's obvious. Well, is it? Let's look at Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25. It says, therefore lying aside, right? Let me say this again. Therefore, lay aside falsehoods. I got several different versions out in front of me, so y'all love me right now, right? So therefore, laying aside falsehoods, speak truth, each one with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. There we go. All right, so now we're listing this out in an incredible way. This value this week, honesty. Now, wherever you're at, where you're driving, you're on a treadmill, it's early in the morning, you're getting ready for work, you're drinking your coffee, or in the evening, you're sitting down with your spouse and you guys are listening to this together. I want you to have your good ears on with an open heart, because I want to talk about this. Because I have sat with way too many couples who do all kinds of intimate things together. Hello, somebody. But have the most difficult time just being honest. I mean, it's incredible what happens to us as married couples, that one of the most difficult things we can do with each other is be honest. Let me put it to you this way. You ever met someone who has trouble being honest so much that you got to second guess everything that they say? I mean, it's the same conclusion when a typically honest person has lied one time. That's all it takes for someone to lose character, for someone to lose integrity. Well, what if this person is your spouse? Okay, now this is why you're here today. So God has designed marriage in such a way that the relationship between a husband and wife is supposed to be the most intimate relationship a person could ever have here on earth. That's God's design for marriage. And I said last week that it will be the most intense relationship you have, either for good or bad. But God's designed it that it would be the most intimate earthly relationship you could ever have. When you and your spouse begin to tell lies, when you're being dishonest in the things you do, the overall communication in marriage begins to be clouded by doubt. Okay, so this doubt usually continues until some sort of forgiveness takes place or the situation's been resolved with the understanding of all right, we're going to try and earn this trust back. Now, if that doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen, the result is a complete breakdown in communication. That's the only result of that. Talk about it. The only communication that takes place then is small talk or only saying what you think your spouse wants to hear. Let me give you an illustration. Now, it could work with a wife or a husband, but let me just do it this way. When a wife loses respect for her husband, or the husband cannot depend on his wife, you can put it the other way. If a husband loses respect and a wife can't depend on her husband, you can do it either way. But let me just put it this way. When a wife loses respect for her husband, or the husband can't depend on his wife to be the biblical helper, well, then trust is lost and deception has taken place. And so the marriage then is going to lose all the intimacy. And I'm going to tell you, it's most likely going to fail. Jesus or no Jesus. Because a complete breakdown in communication is happening and there's no desire to fix it. Almost always talk about it. Listen, come on, crew. Almost always lying hurts the feeling of the one who is being lied to. It's like saying you're unimportant. I cannot trust you to help me with this problem in my time of need, and I don't want to be open and intimate with you. You're unimportant to me. You see, lying destroys credibility and it violates trust. Some of y'all are saying amen so loud I can hear you because you've been lied to. Now, I don't want you to take this as a weapon against your spouse, because I'm going to speak to all of us on both sides here in just a minute. See, we got to keep in mind, at all times, a Christian marriage requires total honesty. And so if the husband and wife are working together for the same biblical goals, in other words, they want to raise godly children, they want to have, purpose, and they want to have meaning in their marriage, then lying doesn't make any sense, because there's no desire then to move towards the goal. So generally, the person who's lying has their own separate goals and agendas. Does that make sense? But more often than not, lying is a sign of deeper problems. I need you to hear this pastor or this counselor as you're listening to this, okay? There's a reason for these lies, and it's too often used to cover up someone's fears. I can't tell you how many times that I've sat with couples in my office and we have had to speak to one particular individual, either the husband or the wife, in the marriage, and ask them, okay, why is this dishonesty happening on your side in this marriage? And more times than not, the answer is, I don't know. And I believe that they literally do not know. I don't believe that they can't understand why it happens. I just believe in the moment they don't know. And so what I know right away is that there has to be a deeper reason for it. And most of the time, in my dealing with couples who have struggled with this issue, it has been to cover up a fear. It might be a fear they don't even know they're covering up. You see, we underestimate the power of deception to undermine our relationship. We think, well, it's not that big a deal. But deception or dishonesty always undermines any and every relationship, especially marriage. And so the act of lying is much more damaging than the things that are being lied about. Did you hear that? See, the dishonesty is much more damaging than the things that you're actually being dishonest about, because dishonesty or lying undermines the ability to know each other. See, the point at which deception enters a marriage is the point at which relationship ends. Oh, I said it. I said it out loud, and I hope you heard it. The point at which deception enters a marriage is the point at which the relationship ends. And couples deceive each other in all kinds of ways. It can be small things like spending too much money. It can be big things like an affair. Okay? It just runs the gamut. Anything in marriage, large or small, is forgivable and able to be worked through, except deception. Oh. See, I'm not trying to be hopeless with you today. I'm trying to be honest with you. Because, see, the cure for dishonesty is honesty. You said it. Why can't deception be worked through? Well, let me tell you why deception can never be worked through. Because deception denies the problem. Hello, talk about it. It's the unforgivable sin of marriage, basically, because it makes forgiveness unattainable. So I need to give you some guidelines if this is something that you're wanting to deal with in your marriage, if it's something that you've been struggling with, or if it's just a value that you want to put inside of your marriage. Let me give you some guidelines, okay? Now, I can't use anybody but my wife and I as an example in this particular setting. Lisa and I believe in total honesty. This is one of our values. But honesty must go along with the other two values we have that we've talked about, a love for God and a love for spouse. Honesty without love and commitment it's gonna wreck a marriage. Hello, somebody. Honesty without forgiveness is gonna wreck a marriage. See, honesty without commitment to holiness does not give the offended spouse a reason for hope. Honesty without a commitment to holiness never gives the spouse who is offended a reason for hope. There are some areas we found that couples find it difficult to be honest about. Let me just run them off. Couples find it difficult to be honest about their feelings. And for some reason, couples find it difficult to be honest about disappointments that they've had in life or with each other or even in themselves. Couples find it very difficult to be honest about their desires, their likes and their dislikes, their hurts, their anger, their hatred. Couples find it difficult to be honest about sex, even though they do it. Oh, hello, somebody. Okay, this marriage is for adults, right? And that is part of marriage. But I have found that couples find it very difficult to be honest about that area of their relationship. Couples find it difficult to be honest about sins or failures or the need to be vulnerable. And so what I say to you in those moments, when I find couples who are struggling with the difficulty to be honest in those areas, I'm saying to that couple, there is a need for deeper intimacy in your marriage. And that intimacy comes from knowing your spouse, the other person, the person you're married to, at a deeper level. And if there are barriers to honesty, knowing each other is ruled out, and dishonesty takes over. Couples often live out years of falsehood trying to protect and save a relationship, all the while destroying any chance of actually having a real relationship. I cannot stress to you enough talk about it right here on season 6, episode 6. I cannot stress to you enough the importance of being able to share with each other who you are. The problem is most people don't feel safe enough in marriage to be totally vulnerable. And when you can get to the place where you can remove the fig leaves, then marriage returns to the state of paradise. Oh, see, that's got to be the goal in your marriage, especially the reason that you want this value to be in your marriage, the value of honesty, because you want to get to the place with your spouse that you remove the fig leaves so your marriage can return to a state of paradise. True intimacy with your spouse, come on, someone, is the closest thing to heaven on earth that we can know. But dishonesty happens for a reason. And most of the time, deception takes place in marriage because of defensive reasons. In other words, the dishonest spouse lies not for evil reasons. I don't believe that at all. They do it to protect themselves. Because fear is what drives deception. Well, let me say it again. Now, see, if you're the spouse who's been lied to, and you're so upset, and so far in this podcast, you're like, that's right, Pastor Don, you get them. Listen, I want to deal with your heart as well, because I need you to try and understand what is taking place here. Fear is what drives deception. It's not an excuse for it, but it's usually the reason. For a spouse to tell the whole truth, they've got to deal with their own fears first. Listen, the fear of real closeness and being known, that's got to be dealt with. The fear of abandonment and the loss of love that might happen if someone really knows who they are. They got to deal with the fear of being controlled and possessed if they're known. They got to deal with the fear of being seen as bad or not good enough if some part of them that isn't perfect is actually known. They got to deal with the fear of their own desires, their own needs and their own feelings. Listen, the next time your spouse lies to you, here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself, what are they afraid of? Man, I can remember one time in particular, we were dealing with this subject with a couple in marriage, and one of the spouses was having an incredible struggle with being honest. And I said, why are you being dishonest? I don't even know. That was their answer. I don't even know. And I remember looking at that person and just simply asking them, what are you afraid of? Oh my. In that moment, something broke that had never broken before. And so if that's you, if you're in that place, I know you're hurt. I know you're struggling. I know you're wrestling with things. The next time your spouse lies to you, ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Or if you're the spouse who is struggling with being honest and you don't even know why, you need to confess, there are some things in my life that I'm afraid of. Listen, if you're on the end of living with a dishonest spouse, instead of getting mad at them, it may help you to understand what's really going on. What are they afraid of? You want your spouse to be honest with you, don't you? Everybody say yes. Sure, we do. So we should want them to deal with their fears as well. Hello, somebody. Oh my, this is so good. This is so good. All right, let me give you a couple little practical things here. I just want to bless you both as you're listening to this. How can we help our spouse deal with fears in a way that creates total commitment and honesty between you? Okay, I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. Number one, I want you to have enough grace to tell the truth. Promise that you'll never punish your spouse for being honest, even if you don't like what's being said. Promise that. See, this doesn't mean there's not going to be any consequences, but punishment and shame and condemnation should never be part of the consequences. Number two, I want you to give each other free rein to question and check out things with each other. I have no secrets from my wife, right? Like, she can take my phone. She's got all my passwords. She can look at my computer. I have no secrets. I have nothing to hide. That's the way I want to live. See, don't be offended by your spouse's need to understand facts. Don't be defensive. Things like, why don't you trust me? Who said they didn't trust you? Maybe they just want to understand the facts. Maybe they actually don't trust you, and it could be because dishonesty has given them a reason. So we got to wrestle through this, but what I'm saying is have enough grace to tell the truth. In other words, promise that you're never going to punish your spouse for being honest. Number two, give them free rein to question and check out things. Facts are not the enemy. And then I'm going to use this word, but require honesty between each other. That doesn't mean you're the judge and jury. It simply means that you're holding each other to the truth. I want you to tell me the truth, even if I'm not going to like it. See, number four, you got to become a partner in your spouse's life to healing, especially healing the underlying fears of being honest. Let's say your spouse has an issue with abandonment. Show them that you're not going to treat them like whoever it was that abandoned them before. Hello, somebody. Okay, number five, take responsibility for your own dishonesty and its fears and commit to resolving them. See, become a person of truth and find someone beside your wife to hold you accountable to become a person of truth. Tell the truth, especially when you're afraid. I said, tell the truth, especially when you're afraid. And the sixth thing I want you to do is use discernment. Okay, not every relationship is ready for total honesty, total knowing, and total being known. Some truths are not ready to be dealt with yet. Some people are just too fragile. They need help to deal with some things. And so timing needs to be right. I'm not asking you to hide things from your spouse. I'm asking you to use discernment. Okay, let me just put it to you this way. I want to be totally and completely honest with my wife, but I realize that if it's chocolate week at our house, hello somebody, come on, talk about it. You know what I'm talking about. That's probably not the week to deal with certain issues. Right? Because emotions are high, things are going on. There are things happening in my wife's body that she can't even control. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Let's just say, hey, this is not a good week to deal with it, but next week we are. And that's okay. Use discernment, men. This will save your life. Come on, somebody. Go buy a chocolate milkshake and deal with it next week. I'm just telling you, right? And there are some issues that might not even be as simple as that. Okay, there are some heavy issues that couples are dealing with. And you know what? The truth of the matter is counseling and healing time, they both need to happen in order for honesty to work. So if you're going to build a strong relationship, you got to make a commitment to each other of total honesty. This is a value that regardless of whether it's mine and Lisa's, it also needs to be yours. I don't believe that any relationship can skip this value. But remember, honesty's got to be accompanied by enough grace to hear and deal with the truth that honesty brings. God always asks us to be honest with Him in the light of His grace for us, doesn't He? I have found that every time that I have come to God and had to be honest, I'll admit that I had some fears, but 100% of the time, I've always found a Heavenly Father who embraces me. And the truth of the matter is that when I'm honest, my greatest fears about being honest never really came to pass. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. So have you been able to deal with and accept truth expressed to you? Can you do that? Because that's something you've got to do. You want honesty, but as the old saying goes, can you handle the truth? In other words, what I'm trying to say to you is, with grace and maturity, because marriage is for adults, have you created an atmosphere where honesty can actually happen? See, you got to make honesty the bedrock of all you do together. And you got to protect against deception, and you got to build honesty. Talk about it. It will pay you back many, many, many times over. I cannot tell you how valuable this value is in your marriage. There's a lot packed into this episode, I know. And I know it's probably one of the most difficult things to deal with, because some of you are wrestling with some deep, deep, deep trust issues. And that's a reality in your marriage. We all been there. The only way to deal with it is by saying, hey, this is the value we want in our marriage, and we are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that that value can never be validated or invalidated, and that it has a complete part of who we are. Listen, if you will work on this value, I promise you, it will bring fruit in your life. No one's going to get it perfect right, but what I want you to do is practice. I want you to practice creating an atmosphere where honesty can happen in your marriage. Watch what God will do with it. It's got to be a value. It's got to be a value. The Bible tells us to stop. It tells us to lay aside falsehoods, right? And nowhere is it more important than to lay aside falsehoods than in marriage. When you create this atmosphere, things are going to change. Oh my gosh. Talk about it. Can you share this? Will you do me a favor? There's some couples you know that need to hear this particular episode. Will you take the link, share it on your social media? Will you tell everybody about it? Will you send me a message and tell me what God is doing in your marriage? I'd love to hear how these episodes have impacted you. I am so thankful for all of you. Do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe. It's incredible. Think about being a supporter. I love you guys. I'm so thankful for all you are. And what I need you to do is remember, as much as I love you, Jesus loves you more. And I'll see you next week.